Okay. Okay. So far we have discussed how to create Docker, how to start the Docker, and how to create the containers out of it. What are the various ways to create the container, how to create the Docker file, and how to create the Docker image from the Docker file, and how to create the image from a container. So all these things we have discussed. And yesterday we discussed about what is volume, how can we declare a folder as a volume, and how can we share that volume with other containers. So these are the things we discussed in yesterday's session. Okay. Today we'll discuss the same concept once again. Yeah. So till yesterday we discussed about, let's say this is container one. Okay. This is container two. So if we make a directory as volume in container one, and while creating the container, if we get that volume as a shared one, so these two are linked now. This is the volume. These two containers are sharing this volume. So if I add any file here from this container, okay, the same will be available here also. In the same way, if I add any file from this container to this volume, okay, the same will be available here as well. Okay, so like this, a volume can be shared across multiple containers. Now we'll see how to share the volume from host to container. So here these two are containers only, but here this is host EC2 machine. On EC2 machine we are creating the container. Now how to link these two? Okay, so let's say this is the root. Okay, this is the root folder. So root is also one of the folder, right? So this is the root folder. Now, how can we share this root directory as a volume so that this container will also take this root directory? Okay. Now we'll see how can we done. I mean, how can be doable this thing practically? Okay. So here creating volume from host to container. Okay, this is the host and this is the container. Now what we will do is, so now what we will do is, we'll create one new container, okay, where that container is going to take the control of root folder, so that whatever the files we create from the root, from the host, those files can be accessible through container as well. Okay, this is our goal now. Now let's see what kind of commands we need to execute, and after executing the commands, what is the result? We'll see that now. No. So now let me create one container. Yes. No active containers. Okay. So let me create one container. Docker run hyphen it hyphen name. Uh, you can give any name. Container file hyphen v. Hyphen v is for letting the operating system know that what is the volume. Okay, yesterday, whenever we are creating a container by specifying the volume, how did we do that? We have mentioned hyphen v along with the directory name so that that will be created as the volume. Okay, now hyphen v after that. Yes, you all know the meaning of this each and every word. So Docker run hyphen IT hyphen name container file. So up to this, you know, you're going to run this command to create one container, and the container name is container file, and you are going to open it in interactive mode. And the privileged equals to true means whatever the base container or the host is having the permissions on the directory, the same kind of permissions will be appended to the newly created container, and you are creating that container from Ubuntu, and after that you are executing this command slash bin slash bash. The only thing you know is hyphen v slash root slash slash. Earlier we have given hyphen v, after that we have given the folder name. When we are taking a volume from some other container, we have mentioned the volume name here. Okay, but now here we are mapping this. This is the root slash root. Map this slash root to this Raj, so that what will happen is a folder will be created with the name Raj in the new container, and that will be mapped to root directory from your host machine. Now let me execute this and you can see the differences. Okay, let me check these things. Okay. So this is the command we have to execute, guys. So hyphen name container hyphen v is to define the volume from the root to host. So after executing this command, ideally a container has to be created and we have to be inside the container. And inside the container, there should be one folder created with the name Raj, and that should have all the details from the root directory. That should have happened ideally. But let me check this. Once the class is over, I will get into the internals and I will check that. So what kind of error here it is giving is TCP empty. So ideally by default the port number for this one is host is 80, TCP 80. Okay, that has to be opened. And here also I have checked, it is opened already, but I don't know why it is not taking. So let me debug it once the session is over. We'll get back to it. Here the port is open actually. So even though the port is open, it is not taking it. Okay. So give me some time. I will get the details for you. Okay. Yeah. So here we'll discuss the similar topic, port expose. Okay. Port expose. Port expose in the sense, let's say this is your machine. So your machine will be having two kind of IP addresses. One is private IP address and the second one is public IP address. Let's say if you have installed one web package in this machine, okay, if you install any web package, so if you remember, we have installed HTTPD package in our machine. In that machine, we have created one file called index.html. In that file, we have given some text. Once that file is created, we open the browser and we have typed the IP address so that we can able to see the content of index.html file from any machine. So have you remembered that? Hello.
Yes.
We
Yes,
have
sir.
installed the package and we have created the file and we have seen that content from any browser. How did we see that? With the help of IP address. So that IP address is nothing but public IP address. Okay. So here this host will have the public IP as well as the private IP. Okay. Public IP will be provided by your internet ISP, internet service provider. Okay. But when it comes to containers will not have any public IP address. Okay. So here this container will have only private IP address. It will not have a two IP addresses. Only public IP address will not be available for the container. Let's say now I have, this is my container, right? This is container one. So this container name is web container. Okay. This web container, in this web container, I have installed one web package. In that package, I have developed my application and I have placed the files. Now I want to access those files from anywhere, from any browser or from any machine. How can we do that? If I have the IP address of this container, then we can type that IP address in the browser, then we can see the content. But the problem here is the containers will not be having any public IP address. So this, let's say, if this is our machine, if I send any request to here, okay, so it will not be directly taken by this container because we cannot able to identify that container. If the public IP address is provided, then only we can able to identify that container and we can jump inside to that container and we can see the files. But because the IP address is not available, we cannot directly contact with the container. Instead, how can we? So this is not possible. So instead, how can we do that? This host will have the IP address, right? Yes or no? This host will be having IP address or not? Host will be having the public and private IP. First, what we have to do is we have to open one port here. Okay, that port is nothing but 8080 port, 80 port. Okay, so that is the port number. And also, we have to open one more port here, guys. Okay, this is one port and this is another port. Okay, these two, here we are opening these two ports. Here we are opening one port with 80 and here also we are opening another port with 80. Now what we have to do is we have to map these two ports. Okay, now what I will do is from my machine to the here I will contact this one. Where this is connected, this is connected to this container. So it's very simple, guys. There are three rooms are there. Okay, three rooms, one after other. Three rooms are there. Here, the first room will be having one door. After the second room and the third room. But you are outside of the first room. If you want to enter inside the third room, is there any direct door to third room? If there are two rooms are there, room 1 and room 2. Room 1 is your EC2 machine and room C in your flat, hall is there and bedroom is there. Directly can you jump into the bedroom? The answer is no. Why? Because there will be no direct door from outside to bedroom. No one will plan like that. Okay. So first we have to enter inside the hall. From the hall to we have to go to bedroom or
Room.
living room, whatever it is. The main door is from hall only. From that hall, wherever the directions are given, whatever from that door to whatever the different routes are there, in that route only we can travel. In the same way, here for this EC2 machine, I am opening one port. This is the port. And also I am opening one more port called 80 in this container. Now I am linking these two, this 80 and this 80. I am linking these two. So whenever a request comes to this 80, this 80 is indirectly linked to this container. So from here to here I can go and I can get the details from this web container. Similarly, in this machine also I have installed one more web package. Web container 2. Okay. Here also, if I want to access this container, here also I have to open one port. No? Here also I have to open one port. Okay. This port is already connected to this one. I cannot connect this port again with this port. This linking is wrong. Okay, this linking is wrong. If I link these two, this is wrong. Why? Because same port we cannot map with other two ports. We can connect with only one port. So here I have to open one more port. Okay, so this is the another port. From this port to this port I have to link now. Okay, this port to this port. Now if a request comes to this First, it has to come here, then here. Like this, I have to create that. I have to open different ports on the host machine, and I have to map those machines to respective container ports, so that whenever a request comes, that will be delegated to the respective container. Is this clear?
Sir.
Now let me create one container. Okay. Now let me create my container. How can I create the container? See, Docker run -pd. P means terminal. I means interactive mode. I means interactive mode. D means detached mode. Okay. D means detached mode. I means interactive mode. After that, hyphen, you can give the name of the container. Web con one. Web container one. Okay. -p. This is for port exposing. You are exposing that port to host 8080. Okay. These are the ports. Ubuntu. So after that, this is not mandatory thing. Slash bin slash bin. That is the best practice. Even if you execute and if you do not execute, so it is not going to make any change. But that is a good practice. See why? Because earlier I have already executed. So if you see earlier this 8080, I have already used that. Why? Just now only I have executed that command. I have created one container called web container. You can see that information here. PS Docker PSA. This will give you all the containers. Docker PS -a. See, this is the web container. Okay, this is the web container. This web container we have already used. Okay, so this is already created. Ports. What are the ports we have exposed? 8080 is already exposed. So that is the reason we are unable to bind. That port is already allocated. That port is already allocated. If you want to, as I said, this port is already allocated to this machine. Now, if I allocate the same port, this is 80 and this is also 80. I am trying to 80:80. That means map this 80 with this 80. That is the meaning of that. -p 80:80 means mapping this. I am opened one port 80 here and I am mapping this 80. This is already mapped with this 80. Okay. So this is 80 port, guys. It's very easy. Don't confuse. Okay. So there is one class in Ansible. So there we will be discussing in detail about how this protocol works and how these port numbers, all these things. We'll have a dedicated session about these things only. Okay. There you will get much clarity. So as of now, you just remember, I have opened one port to 80. There are more than 55,000 different unique port numbers are available. Okay. So now I have opened one 80 port. Here also 80 port is open. Okay. This 80 is mapped to this 80. And in this container also, here also I can have n number of 55,000 ports, right? Here also 80 port is open. Now, if I map this 8080 to this 8080, this will be ambiguity error, right? So this port is already allocated to this container. How can I access this 80 port with this other container? That is wrong. What I have to do? I have to open one more port here, 81. Okay. Now I have to map this 81 with this 80 so that it will work. But here also you will get some error. Your container is created, but the mapping is not happened. Here, why did we get the error, guys? Web container 1, I have given the same name, but here web container 1 is already created. So that is the reason we got that error. Now I have given web container 3 810 to 80. So now here you will see this 81 is mapped to 80. That is how you will see that. See, 81 is mapped to 80. So from the base machine, port number 81 is mapped to 80. Okay. If you want to start any container, now we are not in interactive mode. Earlier, whenever we create any container, by default we are in the inside the container. Now, did I inside the container or outside the container? See, under slash root only. So this is not the container. I am not inside the container. I am outside the container. Now, how can I jump inside the container? Come on, guys. How can we jump inside the container?
Docker attach container.
Attach is one type of it. So instead of that, we can give this Docker execute. Docker execute -it. I means interactive mode. T means terminal. And you have to give the Docker name. Web container. So now I am inside the container. If you want, you can take. Earlier I am under root directory. Now here you can see the differences. Okay. Now I am inside the container. So here inside the container, let me create one package, web package. Earlier we have installed the packages in which machine? In base machines only we have created, in EC2 machine only we have created we have installed the HTTPD package. Now let me install that package in container. What is the operating system of our container? Ubuntu. Ubuntu is the one we have used. For Linux, the web package is HTTPD. For Ubuntu, the web package is Apache 2. Apache 2 is the default web package for Ubuntu machines. Okay. So yum install Apache 2. Yum command is not found. So in Ubuntu, yum command is not going to work out. So instead we have to use apt-get. Okay. Apt-get install unable to locate Apache 2. Okay. What did I do, guys? I just executed the command apt-get install Apache 2. What happened? So that was not found. So then what I have done, I have just updated the operating system. So whenever we launch to our machine, we execute one command, yum update. That means if there are any Linux related updates are available, those updates will be automatically applied in our machine. So the same thing I have applied here as well, apt-get update. So that if any Ubuntu updates are there, those updates will be applied in our machine. Once those updates are done, what I have done, I have just installed the Apache 2 software again. Okay. So yeah, now Apache 2 is clearly installed. Okay. Now cd space /var /www /html. Let me create one file. Okay. Now we are inside it. Okay. Now let me create one file. Echo hello. This is Ubuntu. Now type ls. Index.html file is created. Now, as this is a web package and we have installed this web package in one of the container. Now let me try to access this index.html from the browser. Okay. This is the public IP address. Copy this IP address. Okay. Paste it in the browser. Colon. Let's check the status. Service status Apache 2. The unrecognized service. Service STA status. See, Apache 2 is not running. So what we have to do is, once any package is installed, any service is available, we have to start that service first. Then only we can avail that. But here we have installed this Apache 2 web package, but we haven't started it. Now let me start this. What is the command? Service Apache 2 start. Okay, now let me check the status once again. See, now it is running. Earlier it is Apache 2 is not running earlier. After I executed the command to start this server, it is in running mode. Now let me execute this. Still you will get some error. Now this time it is coming. Hello, this is Ubuntu. Can you able to see this? This is the IP address. Okay, open IP address. Sorry, copy IP address. Okay, so this is how we can able to see the content from the web package. Okay. So nothing else. So let me summarize what we have done here. So let's say on this EC2 machine, we have, if we want to open any container and you have to make it as a web container. So what you will do in that container, you will install the web packages. Once the web packages are installed, you will develop websites or web pages. If you want to access those web pages, you cannot directly access those web pages from any browser. Why? Because the container will not have any separate public IP address. If the public IP address is not available, then we cannot access that page from internet. Okay. For that purpose, what we have to do is we have to open one port. In the same way, we have to open one more port in the base machine. And we have to link this base machine port along with the container port. If we map these two ports, a path will be formed. Okay. So whenever you send any request to this port, this will be redirected to the mapped port so that you can directly access the content which is available in the inside the container. Okay. This is what we have done so far. Okay. Any doubts? And here, if you want to open now, let me come out of this. Now, currently, where are we now? We are inside the container. Now type docker ps. This will give you the which one? Docker ps will gives you only running containers, not the stopped containers. Here, how many containers we are seeing now? Two containers, webcont 3 and web container. Why? Because this webcont 3 we have opened in not in interactive mode. We have opened in detached mode. Detached mode. I have given, see, I am going to create one more container. Web 1. See, Docker run -td -m web1 container. I have created this web1. Web1 is what? My container name. This is created from which image? CentOS image. Which mode I have chosen? Detached mode I have chosen. Now let me type Docker ps. Can you able to see this web1 here?
Yes, yes.
So, okay. So if you use -i, what will happen is you will be enter inside the container, and if you click exit, if you exit, then that container will be stopped automatically. But still you want to open, you want to create your container in start mode only. Even if you come out of it, it will be in on mode. For that purpose, you have to use detached mode. If you create container with the detached mode, that will be running successfully even though you are out of it. Okay. If you want to stop any container, what is the command? Okay, today we discussed about this is the only thing balanced, guys. So why this TCP IP protocol is not working? Let me check that. So we'll get back to you on that part. So, but in the remaining, create the container, and inside the container, open, install any web package. Okay, and open the ports. Okay, and after that, try to execute by taking the public IP address of your EC2 machine. Try to execute in Google Chrome so that you can able to see the content available in the index.html file. And also, if you want to know, one more command is there, guys. If you want to know complete details about your Docker name, container, Docker inspect your container name. This is the complete details about your Docker, sorry, container. See, ID is this created and so date. So this is the JSON format. In this format is called as JSON format. In the JSON format, you can get the complete details. So this ID of this container is this. This is created and so date. The path is this. Arguments are nothing. Current status is running. Okay. So these are the details. If you want to know any container details, you can execute that command, docker inspect and docker container name. Okay, so once again, so please go through the commands, whatever we have discussed in last 3 to 4 sessions. What is Docker? How to install the Docker? Once the Docker is installed, how to start the Docker? And after that, how to create the container from Docker image? How to get the Docker images? How to pull the Docker images from Docker Hub? Or how to create our own Docker file? And how to create Docker image from the Docker file? And one more thing, container is already available. If the container is already there, so how can we create the image from the container? How to start the container? How to stop the container? Okay, so how to open it in interactive mode and how to open it in detached mode. All these things practice once again, and Monday we will be closing this Docker topic. Okay. If you have any doubts, so we'll discuss on Monday session, guys. So practice these things. If you get any errors, so please note down and post in the group. Okay.